Welcome back to the Everyday English Podcast, the place where we turn real-life conversations into your best English lessons. I'm Sarah, and I am so happy you are joining us today for another deep dive into the English language. Whether you are commuting to work, washing the dishes, or going for a run, we are here to help you live your life in English.
And I'm Mark. Hello, everyone. It is great to be back. You know, Sarah, usually when we talk about travel on this podcast, we talk about the fun stuff. We talk about packing your bags, choosing a hotel, or finding the best snacks for a road trip.
That is true, Mark. We love the happy side of travel. But today, we are going to get a little bit serious. We are going to talk about reality, because sometimes, despite all your planning, things go wrong. Imagine you are driving down a highway in a foreign country. The music is playing, the sun is shining, and suddenly you hear a loud noise. Thump, thump, thump. Or maybe steam starts coming out from under the hood of your car.
That is a nightmare scenario for anyone, but especially if English is not your first language. Do you know how to describe that noise to a mechanic? Do you know how to call a tow truck and tell them exactly where you are if you don't have a street address? Or perhaps even more stressful, do you know what to say if a police officer turns on their lights and pulls you over?
Exactly. Today we are focusing on English for car problems and emergencies. This is the survival English that we hope you never need, but you absolutely must know. By the end of this hour, you will be able to explain mechanical problems clearly, handle a police stop with confidence, and keep yourself safe on the road.
And remember, listening to a long conversation like this is the best way to train your ears for the real world. We will speak clearly and slowly, but we will use natural phrases that native speakers actually use. So Sarah, where should we start?
Let's start with the car itself. When a car breaks down, it usually makes a sound or gives you a feeling. If you go to a mechanic and just say, "the car is broken," they might not know where to look. You need to be specific. Let's talk about the vocabulary of sounds. Mark, what is a common sound a car makes when it is in trouble?
One very common sound is a squeal. That is S-Q-U-E-A-L, a squeal. This is a high-pitched, long sound. It usually happens when you start the car or when you turn the steering wheel. It sounds like ee. If you hear a squeal, it often means a belt is loose inside the engine. So you would tell the mechanic, "I hear a loud squealing noise when I start the engine."
That is a great word. A squeal is high-pitched. Now, what about a low, heavy sound? Imagine metal hitting metal. We often call this a clunk, C-L-U-N-K, a clunking noise. If you go over a bump in the road and you hear a heavy thud or clunk, it usually means something is wrong with your suspension or the wheels.
Right. So you might say there is a clunking sound coming from the back right wheel. Being able to point to the location is very helpful. Another scary sound is grinding, G-R-I-N-D-I-N-G, grinding. This is a rough, harsh sound, like sandpaper rubbing against stone. You often hear this when you press the brakes.
Oh, I hate that sound. If you press the brake pedal to stop the car and you hear a loud grinding noise, it means your brake pads are worn out. You represent metal rubbing against metal. That is dangerous. You need to tell the mechanic, "my brakes are grinding."
And there is one more sound that is very specific to tires. If your tire loses air and becomes flat, it makes a flapping sound against the road. We might describe this as a flopping or a thumping noise, but usually you will feel this before you hear it. The car will start to pull to one side.
That is a great verb to know, to pull. In this context, it means the car wants to go left or right even when you are holding the steering wheel straight. If you are driving straight but you have to fight the wheel because the car wants to go left, you say, "the car is pulling to the left." This is a classic sign of a flat tire or an alignment problem.
So we have squealing, clunking, grinding, and pulling. These words are much better than just saying bad noise. Now, Sarah, what happens if the problem isn't a noise? What if it is a light on the dashboard?
The dashboard is the panel in front of the driver with the speedometer and all the gauges. Modern cars have many warning lights. The most famous one is the check engine light. It usually looks like the outline of a small engine. If this comes on, you can still drive usually, but you need to check it soon. But there are other lights that mean stop immediately.
Yes, if you see a light that looks like an old-fashioned oil can, that is the oil pressure light. If that turns red, you must stop the engine right away or you will destroy the car. Also, there is the temperature gauge. If the needle goes into the red zone, your car is overheating.
Overheating is the word we use when the engine gets too hot. Usually, when a car overheats, you might see steam coming out from under the hood. The hood is the metal cover over the engine at the front of the car. If you see steam, we often describe the sound as hissing, like a snake, hissing. A hissing sound means steam or air is escaping under pressure.
So, if you call a mechanic, you can say, "My car is overheating. There is steam coming from under the hood, and I hear a loud hissing sound." That gives the mechanic a perfect picture of the problem.
Exactly. Now, knowing the words is the first step, but the second step is knowing what to do when this happens on a highway. This brings us to our first major role play of the episode. We are going to practice a call to roadside assistance.
Roadside assistance is a service you can pay for, like AAA in America or the AA in the UK. If you break down, you call them and they send a tow truck. A tow truck is a special truck that can lift your car and carry it to a garage.
But here is the challenge, Mark. When you are on a long highway or a road trip, you don't have a street address. You can't say, "I am at 123 Main Street." You are in the middle of nowhere. You need to use different markers to describe your location.
That is right. We use mile markers and exit numbers. Mile markers are small green signs on the side of the highway with numbers on them. They tell you exactly where you are on that road. You also need to know your direction: northbound, southbound, eastbound, or westbound.
Let's do a role play. I will be the driver. My car has just broken down. I am stressed. You are the roadside assistance dispatcher. Listen carefully to how I describe my location. Are you ready, Mark?
I am ready. Ring, ring.
Hello, I need help. My car has broken down.
Okay, ma'am. Stay calm. Are you in a safe location?
Yes, I managed to pull over to the shoulder. I am off the road.
That is good. Can you tell me what the problem seems to be?
I was driving and I heard a loud pop, and then the car started shaking violently. I think I have a blowout. The front right tire is completely flat.
Okay, sounds like a flat tire. Do you have a spare tire or do you need a tow?
I need a tow. I don't know how to change a tire.
No problem. I can send a truck. Where are you located?
I am on Interstate 95.
Okay, Interstate 95 is a very long road. Which direction were you traveling?
I was heading north. I passed the city of Richmond about 20 minutes ago.
Northbound on I-95. Do you see any landmarks or signs?
Yes, I just passed mile marker 84, and I can see a sign for exit 85 in the distance ahead of me.
Okay, so you are northbound on I-95 between mile marker 84 and exit 85. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
All right, I have dispatched a driver. They should be there in about 45 minutes. Please stay inside your vehicle with your seatbelt on.
Thank you. Bye.
End of roleplay. Great job, Sarah. That was a very clear description.
Thanks. Let's break down a few key phrases there. First, I said I managed to pull over to the shoulder. To pull over means to move your car from the driving lane to the side of the road and stop. The shoulder is that strip of pavement on the side of the highway where you can stop in an emergency. It is not for driving, it is for stopping.
Yes, never stop in the middle of the traffic lane if you can avoid it. Always try to pull over to the shoulder. You also use the word blowout. This is a strong word. A puncture is a small hole, maybe from a nail. The air leaks out slowly. A blowout is when the tire explodes suddenly while driving. It is very scary and dangerous. And then we talked about location. I said I was heading north. You can also say northbound. Then I gave the mile marker. This is crucial. If you tell the dispatcher, "I am near the big tree," they cannot help you. But if you say mile marker 84, they know your exact coordinate. And notice I asked you to confirm. Northbound between mile marker 84 and exit 85. When you are on the phone in English, especially in an emergency, it is very good to repeat the information back to check if it is correct. And finally, you gave me a safety instruction. Stay inside your vehicle. This is important advice. If you are on a busy highway, getting out of the car can be dangerous because of the other fast cars. It is usually safer to stay inside with your seatbelt on until the truck arrives. Before we move to the next section, if you are finding these phrases useful, please take a second to subscribe to the Everyday English podcast channel. When you subscribe, it tells us that you want more practical, real-life lessons like this one. It really helps us keep making these episodes for you. Yes, please do. Now, Mark, let's move to perhaps the most nerve-wracking situation for a driver, the police stop.
Getting stopped by the police is stressful, even for native speakers. But if you are in a foreign country, you might worry about the language barrier, the laws, or doing something culturally wrong.
First, let's talk about the verb phrases. We say, I got pulled over. This means the police turned on their lights and sirens behind you, and you had to stop. So you can say, I was late because I got pulled over.
Now, what happens when you stop? In many English-speaking countries, like the US, the UK, Canada, or Australia, the rule is the same. Do not get out of the car unless the officer tells you to. This is very important. In some cultures, you get out to greet the officer. In the US, if you get out of the car quickly, the officer might think you are a threat.
That is a great safety tip. Stay in the car, roll down your window, turn off the engine, and put your hands on the steering wheel where the officer can see them. This makes everyone feel safe. Now, let's talk about the dialogue. The officer will usually ask for 3 things. Mark, what are they?
They usually say, license, registration, and proof of insurance, please. Your license is your driver's card. The registration is the official paper that proves who owns the car. The proof of insurance is a card or paper showing you have insurance. You should keep these documents in your glove compartment.
The glove compartment or glove box is that small storage box in the dashboard in front of the passenger seat. So when the officer asks, you can say, it is in the glove compartment. Is it okay if I reach for it? Asking permission is a very polite and safe thing to do.
Let's do a short role play of a police stop. I will be the police officer. You are the driver. I caught you speeding.
Oh no. Okay, I am ready. I am pulling over. I am turning off the engine. Hands on the wheel.
Knocks on window. Good afternoon, ma'am. Do you know why I pulled you over today?
Good afternoon, officer. No, I am not sure.
I clocked you doing 75 in a 55 zone. The speed limit here is 55 miles per hour.
Oh, I am so sorry, officer. I didn't realize the speed limit had changed. I thought it was still 65.
You have to watch the signs. Can I see your license, registration, and proof of insurance, please?
Yes, of course. The registration and insurance are in the glove compartment. I am just going to reach over and get them. Here you go.
Thank you. Are you traveling through or are you local?
We are just traveling through on a road trip. This is a rental car.
All right, sit tight for a moment. I'm going to run your license. I'll be right back.
Whispering. This is the part where you wait nervously.
Returning. Okay, ma'am. Since you have a clean record, I'm just going to give you a warning today. Please slow down. We want everyone to be safe.
Thank you so much, officer. I will definitely watch my speed. Have a good day.
Safe travels.
Phew, that went well. I got a warning.
You got lucky. So let's look at the language there. The officer said, I clocked you doing 75. To clock someone means to measure their speed with a radar gun. Clocked you means I measured your speed.
And then I used a very specific phrase. I said I didn't realize the speed limit had changed. Notice I did not say I was not speeding. Arguing with a police officer on the side of the road is usually a bad idea. It is better to be polite and calm.
However, be careful. In some countries, if you say, I am sorry, it is an admission of guilt that can be used in court. But in a casual traffic stop, saying, I didn't realize is a way to be polite without confessing to a crime. It explains your confusion.
Then the officer said, I am going to run your license. This means he is going to check your name in the police computer system to see if you have any other crimes, or if the license is valid.
And finally, the outcome. There are usually 2 outcomes, a ticket, also called a citation, or a warning. A ticket means you have to pay a fine. A warning means the officer is being nice and just telling you to be careful. You want the warning.
Absolutely. Being polite, keeping your hands visible, and having your documents ready helps you get a warning. Also, mentioning this is a rental car is helpful context. Sometimes the registration papers for rental cars look different, so it explains why you might be looking for them.
So we have covered the sounds of the car braking, how to call a tow truck using mile markers, and how to handle a police stop politely. These are the 3 pillars of road trip survival.
Now, to make sure you really learn this, we are going to do a listening challenge. We are going to simulate an exam-style task, like you might find on the IELTS or TOEFL, but focusing on this topic.
Here is how it works. Sarah is going to tell a short story about a road trip disaster. I want you to listen specifically for 3 pieces of information. You might want to grab a pen and paper, or just make a mental note.
Here are the 3 questions you need to answer. Question 1. What specific sound did the car make before it stopped? Question 2. What was the main cause of the problem? Question 3. How long did they have to wait for help?
Did you get that? The sound, the cause, and the wait time.
Okay, Sarah, tell us the story. Listen closely, everyone.
Storytelling mode. Last summer, my husband and I decided to drive through the mountains of Colorado. The views were incredible, and the roads were steep and winding. The car was struggling a bit on the hills, but we didn't think much of it. We were climbing a very steep pass when suddenly I smelled something sweet, almost like maple syrup. A few seconds later, we heard a loud, high-pitched hissing sound coming from the front. It sounded like a kettle boiling over. Then, steam started pouring out from under the hood, blocking our view. We quickly pulled over to a narrow shoulder. My husband opened the hood carefully and saw that a radiator hose had burst. Coolant was everywhere. We had no cell service, so we had to wait for another driver to stop. Eventually, a nice truck driver stopped and used his radio to call for help. We sat there on the side of the mountain for exactly 2 hours before the tow truck finally arrived. It was a long afternoon, but at least the view was nice.
Okay, that is the end of the story. A bit of a scary situation in the mountains. Let's see if you caught the answers. Question 1 was, what specific sound did the car make?
I said we heard a loud, high-pitched hissing sound. I also compared it to a kettle boiling over. If you heard hissing, give yourself a point.
Question 2, what was the main cause of the problem?
The problem was that a radiator hose had burst. I also mentioned seeing coolant everywhere. If you said broken hose or radiator problem or burst hose, you are correct.
And question 3, how long did they have to wait for help?
We waited for exactly 2 hours. It was a long wait.
Well done if you got all 3. This kind of listening practice, listening for specific details, is great for building fluency. It trains your brain to filter out the extra words and find the important facts.
Before we wrap up, I want to give one final piece of advice about car emergencies. It is about preparation. We talked about calling for help, but sometimes your phone doesn't work.
That is a great point. If you are traveling in a foreign country, or even just far from home, keep a physical kit in your car. We call it an emergency kit.
Yes, in my kit, I have jumper cables. These are the cables you use to start your car battery if it dies. You connect your battery to another car's battery. We call this giving the car a jump, or jump-starting the car.
I also keep a flashlight, a blanket, and some water. And very importantly, a portable phone charger. If your car battery dies, you cannot charge your phone using the car. You need a separate battery bank.
And maybe write down the emergency numbers on a piece of paper. In the US, the emergency number is 911. In the UK, it is 999. In Europe, it is 112. But also write down the number for your rental car company or your insurance roadside assistance. If your phone has 1% battery, you don't want to waste time searching Google for the number.
That is very smart. Hard copy is the term we use for paper information. Keep a hard copy of important numbers in the glove compartment.
So let's review what we learned today. We learned sounds like clunking, squealing, grinding, and hissing. We learned sensations like pulling and vibrating.
We learned how to describe our location using northbound, southbound, mile markers, and exit numbers. This is probably the most useful skill from today. If you can tell someone where you are, you can get help. We also role-played a police stop. Remember, stay in the car, hands on the wheel, be polite, and have your license and registration ready. And remember the phrase, "I didn't realize," instead of arguing. And finally, we practiced our listening skills with a story about a burst radiator hose. This episode was a bit different because it focused on problems, but knowing how to handle problems is what gives you confidence. If you know you can handle a breakdown, you can relax and enjoy the drive much more. Absolutely. Confidence comes from preparation. Now we have a small task for you to do right now. We want you to open the Notes app on your phone.
Yes, open a new note. Title it Emergency Vocab. I want you to write down just 3 words from today that were new to you. Maybe it is glove compartment, maybe it is squealing, maybe it is mile marker. Writing them down helps lock them in your memory, and keep that note on your phone for your next trip. Thank you so much for listening to the Everyday English podcast. We hope this lesson keeps you safe and sound on your future travels.
If you enjoyed this, hit that like button and make sure you are subscribed. We have a lot more real-life conversations coming your way. Drive safe, everyone.
See you in the next episode. Bye.